final article today is about employee frustration. So what if employee frustration was your most valuable architecture data? So this was a recent article from Zoom, which makes the case that employee frustration with workplace technology isn't noise to be managed, but it's some of the most valuable data an organization has. When employees quietly bypass approved tools, complain in chat threads, or work around systems that keep failing them, they're providing an unfiltered audit of where the infrastructure is broken. The article argues that IT leaders who learn to read that frustration as an architectural signal rather than an HR or compliance problem can reposition themselves from gatekeepers to genuine strategic architects. Now, the research from a Zoom and Deloitte study found that 94% of employees encounter friction somewhere in the meeting lifecycle. The average employee loses around 1.6 hours every week just preparing for meetings. I mean, what are you doing? Across enterprises, employees are switching between 9 or more applications in a single workday, creating what the article calls integration debt, a hidden drag on decision speed and productivity that never appears on a balance sheet, but everyone feels. So the core argument really is that if you're sitting on this ready-made sort of mandate where people are saying this isn't working, this is a problem, this is, frustrating, we have to listen to that and actually use it in some meaningful way. But this also doesn't feel necessarily new. It feels very familiar for the comms world. So do you think organizations genuinely just don't see the signal, or do you think they're just not acting on it and it doesn't really make any difference because we're just going to crack on with the direction that we're going in?
Is integration debt coming into our new buzzword library here?
Yes.
I think that's a good one.
I challenge you to put it in, it's in.
I challenge you to use that this weekend with your friends. Somehow bring an integration debt into that to see if it fits. The part around here, and if anybody is coming to IEBC World Conference this June, Pinaki Kathiar and I are talking a little bit about this in our session, is about friction. So it talks about 94% of employees encounter friction somewhere in the meeting lifecycle. This equates friction as a negative. Mm-hmm. Friction isn't necessarily a negative. It could be. It doesn't have to be. Friction could be very positive. So I think with this, frustration is natural. There's always going to be a gap between what companies want and what employees experience and all of those things. That's just the natural state of it. I don't know that companies, not that they don't see the signal or not act on it. I don't think they care about it. I think it's I think to use your words, they just crack on with it. It's not a critical thing, or they just expect employees to solve it for themselves. It is data. It is worth looking at, but I don't think it's a situation where they need to solve every single problem where there's some kind of friction there, where the friction could actually be a good thing for the company.
I totally agree on the friction. I'm still reading The Friction Project, which is a great read about that. And Atomic Habits also talks about friction, putting it in, taking it away and stuff. So that'll be a great session at World Conference for anyone going. But I suppose for me, I just thought people have been frustrated for years, and I'm not sure anyone's thought, let's take this frustration and do something positive with it. I think they've thought, yes, we understand you're frustrated. However, our strategy is to go and do this. And I don't think anyone's ever really going to change that. And to your point, some friction is good. I think if you've got a load of people saying this tool is really impossible to use and we can't do it, then you have to listen to that. But you also have to look at trends and data and that analysis, and just not the people that shout the loudest. And I think
sometimes that friction could just be change.
Yes. Yeah.
It could just be that you've got to get through that part. Last week, I think it was last week, you mentioned one of my least favorite business quotes that people mentioned, the Henry Ford faster horse thing. I think you mentioned that last week. I can't remember when I mentioned that. Yes. Right. One of my least favorite images that I see people share around work is it shows the sidewalk cross section, and then it's like a path people have made around the sidewalk, and they're like, oh, this is the design, but the user experience and the real experience is them cutting the corner. Maybe. But what we don't know is was that path there first and then they built the sidewalk? Was the sidewalk closed for a little while? So people had to make the path and now they love having the sidewalk. We're making interpretations on it. So this is where, yes, people will always have workarounds. If something is failing them, that's them solving a problem. And not every system doesn't work for every single person in the exact same way.